the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Welton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Clint, how are you?
I'm excellent.
You know, something came up for me this past week as I was putting some shows together, and I was thinking about a moment in the beginning of our marriage where it was the first time that I had ever seen my dad breaking down. He was literally, it all came to a head for him. And it got me thinking about the emotional weight of always being that calm one, especially when you're a first responder, because everybody automatically assumes that that's how you should be, even when you're not at work.
And that's it. And it frustrates me so much because it's a societal thing when they say, oh, well, you signed up for this. You knew what you were getting into. And you really can't ever prepare for what we do as first responders, for seeing what we see and dealing with what we deal with. And it's not fair to just say, well, you signed up for this.
Something else that's interesting is how many times have we read and watched headline stories play out where it was, for some reason, they felt the need to include, and he or she were an off-duty police officer. Like that has to add some sort of undertone to the story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah, and I think, they're doing that attention-grabbing headline, and it's just not like we as a society keep pushing things that way to be able to grab that attention more so, and then it starts you start making first responders feel like, well, I shouldn't be feeling this way, and I shouldn't be carrying this burden. Like I signed up for this, and it's, you plug in the excuse here as to why you shouldn't be feeling the way that you're feeling because of that emotional burden that you carry on a regular basis.
Yeah, because when I'm thinking about those stories, another thing too is it discourages a lot of off-duty police officers from acting in certain ways, and it also, for some, might give you the expectation that you should, which might also put you in jeopardy depending on the situation. And if we were to think about, let's say there's a scenario where there's a female who got pushed onto a train track and an officer was there, and the story was they did or they didn't act. And of course, the headline was something about that off-duty police officer. You would never see that about an off-duty plumber. Like the off-duty plumber did or didn't react.
Yeah, the pipe burst in the train station and that off-duty plumber didn't go and handle it. It's one of those situations, and this is actually an interesting dynamic, is in California, there's a Senate bill. It's either a Senate bill or an Assembly bill that they're currently trying to move forward with. It's when an off-duty police officer engages in an incident with their firearm that they carry off-duty, they're looking for additional charges to add on to where they're stacking them like you were like this career criminal and adding it on to be able to prosecute off-duty officers for actually going out and helping people in the public.
Well, lucky for you, I'm usually the one carrying a firearm when we're out and about. The psychological concept that I want to talk about here is actually called emotional labor and regulation fatigue. And it happens when individuals are required to manage their emotional expression as a part of their role. And I think that for first responders, this is both a professional expectation and a cultural norm. And when emotional regulation becomes constant at work and at home and everywhere in between, I think that the nervous system eventually pays the price.
When we start holding on to everything that we carry on a regular basis and we're not being able to express it, and I think one of the biggest things is not making it about us in that instance, but being able to not be able to act when we feel that we should be because of society's pushing us one way or the other. And it's all based off of your own individual experience. It starts raising those questions on what we should and shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, there are some signs that being the calm one is actually costing you. And I think that something I see a lot is that you're everybody's anchor, but nobody is yours.
And that's something that if you hold on to, and we've talked about it, it's like you're filling up everybody's cup from your own cup. And if you never fill up your own cup, you're going to run out.
I think too that, I've actually gotten on to people about this before where I see that support only flows in one direction. I've called people out before about like, that isn't your child. Why are they calling you at 2 a.m. for you to be able to fix their problems?
Yeah. And I think we create that dynamic of saying, hey, I'm here for you. Call me whenever you have questions. I mean, when we always create that, like, you want to love and support your partners in what you're dealing with, whether it's a subordinate, whether it's your actual beat partner, whoever it may be, but they're not comfortable in making those decisions on their own. There's underlying issues when it comes to that, not just that you're there to support them. 90% of the time, those questions could be answered by the person sitting or standing right next to them.
Not only that too, but I think that there's a lot of growth in the beginning, especially where you need to push those people on their own and, let them fly out of the nest at some point to where they might not, a lot of times people are just worried about getting in trouble. So at some point you have to take responsibility for the decisions that you're making and not always pawn it off on somebody else to be able to make for you. Yeah.
And that's one of my aspects of what I deal with my guys. And it's funny because they tease me over it is, I don't tell them the answer to the question. I could easily tell them answers to the question, but I'll ask them questions for them to find the answer because that's actually going to help them more long term. So in turn, I see less people calling me because one, they've built up their confidence to be able to make those decisions. But two, they're like, oh, I just want the answer.
I think that for me, there have been a lot of times in my life where I've had to be the calm one and where I've noticed it costing me. And one of the biggest red flags that I've noticed in myself that I know happens with other people if only they're honest with themselves is starting to resent people who fall apart easily because maybe you've never allowed yourself to.
Yeah, and I think that there's a type of envy there that we don't even consider it as envy. You get that frustration, that upset because they can't hold together their emotions and everything because you've never been given that permission to be able to let go when something comes up like that.
Yeah, and I think my struggle with that is that I see a lot of people who overuse it. I'm thinking about my kid brother, for example, to where like he's always looking for somebody else to just solve the issues that he has going on in his life. He's so emotional. He is 100% the baby of the family. I love him, but that's definitely the characteristic trait in him that stands out the most. And I think that there also has to be this balance between overusing it and only using it when you need to.
Yeah, being able to, with everything in life, having a balance on, there's instances where you really don't know how to do something and it's just easier for you to call someone to solve that problem for you, or instead of you working at actually trying to find the problem or the solution to the problem.
And when it comes to us as individuals, I think that there are ways to be able to carry less without losing your strength. And the first is for us to be able to recognize that calm is a skill and it's not an identity, and that you're allowed to feel what you feel.
When you give yourself permission to feel those emotions coming up and being able to learn how to deal with them and handle them and make your decisions based off of not only emotion, but of your experience, you start alleviating a lot of that tension and pressure that you've been holding on to.
I've sat in front of a lot of people, some of them that I admire, and I think they are noble, and I feel proud to be able to have conversations with them and to be able to hold space with them. And a lot of them have told me that they've never broken down and cried in this way before, or they've never felt comfortable to be able to say these types of things before. And it makes me feel so proud of them whenever I hear that. But what they're missing, and I often point out, is that it's so important to create a space where you don't have to regulate, where safe people and safe environments are around. And whether you're creating that space or you're seeking that space out, it could literally be life-changing.
Being able to find that circle of not only, I think we forget it's relationships are give and take, and you want to find the give and take relationships, not just the ones that take from you all the time.
I think too, it's important to just allow somebody else to be that steady presence for you and to realize that receiving support, it's not weakness. And that's actually another one of your tools. And, we have come a long way in being able to incorporate that into our lives.
Yeah, because when you surround yourself with those types of people who are like-minded, and you're able to not only receive the support given from others, but to give that support to them as well, it completes that circle, and you're able to find that balance in your own life.
I think the key here that I want to wrap this up with is that you were never meant to be everybody's anchor without one of your own. I hope you've gotten value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.